A lot of people online argue that you should not speculatively transfer your credit card points, even if there's a really good bonus. Hi, my name is Sean, and I'm here with my co host today, and we're going to be discussing this.
Hi, this is Sherwin. So, in today's episode of the Credit Card at BS podcast, we're going to be talking about speculatively transferring points. Now, as Sean mentioned, this is generally disfavored because transfers are generally not reversible, right? For example, once a Chase point becomes a Hyatt point or a Virgin Atlantic point or whatever, airline hotel partner point, you can't move that back, right? So you kind of want to be sure that there's a good use case before you transfer over. This is especially the case because a lot of times these transfer partners will have expiration policies on their points, where, if you transfer over and they just kind of get stranded there and you're not able to use them, you could forfeit them. Whereas most of the transferable currency points, like Ultimate Rewards from Chase, American Express membership rewards, etc., don't have particular expiration policies for their points as long as you have the accounts open. So that's why the general wisdom is that you should not speculatively transfer. You should find availability for a flight that you want to take or a hotel you want to book. Then you transfer over and then you book immediately, right? So Sean, what is missing from this take?
So it's more nuanced than what people say. So I think, first of all, the reason this advice is so commonly given online is if someone's asking, should I speculatively transfer points, it probably means they're not that familiar with that points currency. If that person was supremely confident they would be able to get value out of those points if they speculatively transfer it during a transfer bonus, they probably wouldn't be asking online. If I knew that, I would just transfer them. So I think that's, first of all, the reason it's given out so commonly. I do think it's more nuanced than just, find availability first, because there's multiple factors involved. One being, just right off the bat, is if there's not an instantaneous transfer. So let's say I want to be able to book an award using ANA miles, a very, very competitive and strong mileage currency. ANA miles transfer from American Express, but they're not instant. It can take like 2 to 3 days for them to show up in your account. So if I find some ultra rare or good redemption, by the time I submit that transfer and the points end up being in the account, the award is probably gone. So if I want to even be able to book that award, I will probably have to transfer the points into the account in advance speculatively. So it's not just as simple as like, I can find availability in the transfer, because by the time the transfer goes through, the availability might be gone. The other thing that people, I think, forget is that you need to really think about like what the risk level is of transferring, especially during a transfer bonus. Remember, let's say you're getting a 30% transfer bonus. That's a significant amount. If there's a small chance that I won't be able to get as good of value from those points, I still got a 30% or potentially higher boost. So risk-wise, if we're weighing the odds, is there like a 10% chance that I won't get as good a value of the points as if I had just held on to them? Well, that's still probably worth it because I'm getting a 30% bonus. It's more nuanced than just, I need to always find availability first and then transfer. It doesn't work that way. You may actually be hurting yourself more.
Yeah, to back up a little bit, for those of you not super familiar with what transfer bonuses are. So generally, these points transfer 1-to-1 from like the credit card currency to the airline mile or the hotel points. But from time to time, there are limited time promotions where it'll become like 1 to 1.3. So that's what like a 30% transfer bonus is. So one Chase point becomes, for example, 1.3 Virgin Atlantic points. That greatly reduces the number of credit card points you need for redemption. BILT rewards, recently has been popping off on a lot of, insanely huge transfer bonuses. We're looking at least 75% if you have no status, and it goes up. The transfer bonus increases the higher BILT status you have. And what's interesting about those is they have much higher, transfer bonuses in terms of percentage, but the time frame is much shorter. They usually do them as the rent day promotion on the first of each month, where you have about a 24-hour window to do those transfers. They do announce it in advance for like a week or so, but the window during which you can execute that transfer is much shorter than like the 30% bonuses you see from the other issuer. So I'm curious, Sean, how would you approach thinking about these BILT transfer bonuses, especially now that they're becoming more frequent, it seems?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for BILT particularly, it's very interesting because at first it was like, oh my God, when there's a 75% or 100% transfer bonus, just transfer all the points out. Because usually, like, if it's a decent partner, something like the Flying Blue or Virgin Atlantic, that's a good partner. Transferring the points out is going to be very, very valuable. The problem is because since they are now so frequent, the opportunity cost of not transferring is much lower because now it starts to bring up the question, what partners will they have a transfer bonus for in the future? What if they have a really small transfer bonus, but to Hyatt or to AA or something? Well, let's say they have a transfer bonus to Flying Blue, but I'm like, you know what? I really want some Aeroplan points. What are the odds they're going to have an Aeroplan transfer bonus in the future? It's a non-zero chance. So
They already just had one actually recently.
they just had one recently. Oh,
It's
yeah, I should have
Aeroplan,
transferred. I
yes.
forgot about that. I should have
Yeah, it's
transferred.
only one day. It's only one day, so it's hard to keep track of it.
So it's like, because they hold them so frequently, it's now not as much, oh my God, when they have these bonuses, I got to transfer because, well, if you do that every bonus, unless you're earning 100,000 points every month, you're not going to be able to build up a significant enough balance for it to matter. So it's kind of this weird, it's so good that you actually don't need to do it as much. Now, of course, at any time they could remove these bonuses. So there's that. But if there's a partner that you are going to get value out of and you're tempted to transfer your points speculatively, the BILT bonuses are definitely good enough to justify doing it.
Yes. I think in addition to transfer time and transfer bonuses, there's some other considerations we should think about. So one thing I mentioned was expiration, right? So this varies from program to program. It's really important to understand. For example, ANA miles expire based on a set number of months after which the points hit your account. It does not matter if you have new activity account or you transfer more points, you redeem them, whatever. It doesn't reset the clock for those points. So once they go into that account, you need to use them within that window no matter what. Whereas something like other airlines, for example, I think
like Virgin Atlantic,
right, is based. Virgin Atlantic doesn't expire, right? Or
they do not expire at all. Yeah.
Right, they do. United does not
some are
expire at
expired
all
based on
either.
activity.
Yes, and so United, Virgin Atlantic doesn't expire at all, but some expire based on activity. So like if you transfer in more points or you book something, you make sure you understand your definition of activity, but you can extend the expiration point date of all your points going forward. So then there's a little less risk in terms of that. So it's really important to understand. I mean, I think ANA is such a interesting example because there's such an incentive to speculatively transfer given the transfer time from American Express. Yet, the expiration policy is so much less friendly because it's based on the clock. So, Sean, is there anything else to add, or how do you think about this issue?
In terms of like ANA specifically, I mean, it's just one of those things. I think the best way to go about it is to study the availability release patterns first. So if you're noticing a pattern of how often availability for something like ANA is released on a particular route, and then you get a good idea, then it's like safer to speculatively transfer. You should not just go, oh, I want to fly Singapore Airlines and, ooh, there's a 20% Singapore Airlines bonus. Let me transfer 600,000 Chase points into Singapore Airlines. Like, you should think about it. You need to have a good understanding of any program before you transfer points speculatively. I think that's like at a minimum.
Yes. I mean, one example that comes to mind right now is so many people keep asking me, oh, there's a 60% transfer bonus from Chase to ISG. Should I take advantage of this? It's going away. And the answer is obviously no. You should never transfer Chase points to ISG. Even a 60% bonus does not help because remember, ISG points can be purchased for half a cent each when they're on sale, which is really cheap. So to give up a Chase point, which can be worth upwards of 2 or if not more cents per point for something that can be acquired for half a cent per point makes a little sense. Even with the 60%, the math doesn't work out. So as Sean said, really understand the program. Don't just jump at it because the percentage seems high or you're interested in their product. Another thing to think about is how likely are you to use those points? How easy is this program to use? So for example, I'm sure Sean and I both easily transfer Chase points to Hyatt speculatively because we know we're going to be able to use them. It's easy to find availability, to get outsized value. It's a consistent use case for both of us. And the expiration policy is not super unfriendly. So that's something we're comfortable with doing. But what about like an airline where availability on, their good redemptions or their partner awards are really hard to come by? That's a very different calculus in our mind. Sean, did I adequately capture that? Or are there any examples you can think of?
No, I totally agree with you. Yeah, something like Hyatt, like all my chase points, I don't even really hesitate about speculatively transferring to Hyatt. I mean, I'm not really going to transfer more just for the sake of transferring more in. But like if I'm ever just like, oh, maybe I should transfer some more in, I don't even think about it because that's where they're going to go anyways. Hyatt's so easy to get value out of compared to like so many other programs. So it is such an easy thing to get use out of that. I guess I'm not worried about it. Whereas if someone's like, oh, we need to transfer to Flying Blue or to British Airways, even if there's a big bonus, I mean, I'll do it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not just going to offload all my points in there because those programs are more difficult to get value out of compared to something like Hyatt. Now, you can still get amazing value out of them, but it's not like, oh, any day of the week, I can just get hotels all over the world, no issue finding award availability type things. It's like, oh no, I got to find this specific flight. There's like 2 seats open the calendar year, and I got to book it before anyone else books it. So it can be a lot trickier for like airlines compared to these, easy programs. I feel like another thing to also consider is like the, how cheaply you can buy the points on sale. So like something like IHG where you can buy them super cheap on sale, transfer bonus doesn't do anything. Something even like Aeroplan, to be honest. Now, Aeroplan points are very, very valuable, but some of their sales on them are pretty competitive. So you can buy the points often at pretty good rates, like 1.2, 1.3 cents per point on like the aggressive sales. So like for me, that means there's less of an incentive to speculatively transfer to Aeroplan because, okay, if I really need the points, there may just be a sale and I could buy it at even like a better rate than transferring. So it's totally dependent on the program and what you're trying to redeem. It's really like you got to have a solid, fundamentally good understanding of these programs to be able to answer this question. Because if you are really well versed in a program like Hyatt or something, or like Virgin Atlantic, and you know the release redemption patterns, the award availability patterns, you know the expiration policy, you know what you're looking to redeem for, transferring speculatively during a bonus can be a very, very wise decision. For me, every time I have transferred speculatively during a bonus, I have not regretted it. I've regretted not speculatively transferring during bonuses plenty of times, but I have yet to regret speculatively transferring. Again, that's a unique situation though. If I hadn't known what I was doing, I probably would regret transferring speculatively.
Yeah, I see so many horror stories of people unloading their Chase or Amex points into like Marriott or IHG just because they saw bonus and thought that was really significant. I think it comes from really understanding the program, as Sean says. Okay, the other thing I think we should talk about, and this is a little more nuanced, I would say, is the opportunity cost when considering other partners from that transferable currency. Let me give you an example that I think about often. When Chase offers a 30% bonus to Virgin Atlantic or Aeroplan, that to me feels different from when Amex offers a 30% bonus to Virgin Atlantic or Aeroplan or some other partner that they both share. And you might be like, oh, the math is literally the same. Why does that change your decision making? And that's because Chase has World of Hyatt as a transfer partner, and Amex doesn't. So to me, like, since Chase points are super valuable, or Hyatt points are super valuable, and Chase points are the only thing that goes toward there, I have a much greater hesitation taking advantage of a transfer bonus from Chase toward another airline than from Amex. Sean, I'm wondering if that makes sense, or if this type of calculation comes into your mind as well.
Oh, it comes in all the time. Every time Chase has a transfer bonus, I pretty much just ignore it because I'm like, dude, they're just going to Hyatt anyways. Like, you could have like a 50% transfer bonus to Virgin Atlantic. I'm not doing it. It's going to Hyatt. Now, of course, if they come in with like a 200% transfer bonus or a 100% transfer bonus somewhere, then I'll start considering it. But as long as Chase has Hyatt, that's where the points are going for me. Amex, totally different story. if you got a 30% bonus to Virgin Atlantic, I'm speculatively transferring. You got a 30% bonus to British Airways, speculatively transferring. Pretty much a 30% bonus to any of their good airline partners. I'm speculatively transferring, at least to some degree. Chase points, those are going to Hyatt, at least for me. But I know you agree too.
Yeah, I think the BILT makes it even harder because BILT, again, does these huge transfer bonuses, yet, they have Hyatt and American Airlines. And for like American Airlines, no one else has. So that makes the math even harder. Is like, do I take advantage of this insane transfer bonus that could be 75, 100%, whatever, depending on your status? Or do I just still save them out for Hyatt? And also considering the fact that BILT cards are hard to earn, there's not like big sign-up bonuses you can get all the time. Sean, what do you think?
Oh yeah, totally. I think for BILT, like that is the exception for me on the Hyatt transfer. Like AA miles, would love to get those, but it's like, would I rather have one AA mile or like 2 Aeroplan? As much as I love AA, I don't think it's twice as good as Aeroplan, for example. So yeah, I still wait for the transfer bonuses on BILT because they're just too valuable.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think this just emphasizes another important point/opinion I have, which is that you should all diversify your credit card points. Too many people walk up to me and be like, I only want one points ecosystem because it's just simpler to manage. And while I understand that take, at the same time, I'm like, not only are you leaving so much value on the table, but you can lock yourself into positions where it's hard to give up your points for some bonus because you kind of need it for the transfer partner. Whereas if I'm, comfortably have points in Chase, Amex, Capital One, Citi, I can focus on transfer bonuses for certain currencies that have good bonuses, but then, like, for example, still save my Chase points for high and not feel bad about not being able to take advantage of their transfer bonuses and whatnot. Sean, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think a lot of people overestimate the burden of having like multiple points ecosystems. Like, oh, I want to have one, it's easier to manage. It's not that much work, especially if you're within the same card issuer. Like, if I'm having, Amex points and also Hilton points, like, yeah, sure, that's 2 different ecosystems or whatever. But the cards are in the same issuer. Like, my Hilton card from Amex and my Amex Gold show up on the app together. It's not any extra work to manage them. I understand how it's like, oh, you want to feel like you can accumulate a significant enough balance to like redeem for something valuable. But if you're earning points that are subpar to begin with, it doesn't matter if you're able to earn more of them, really, because they're not that good anyways.
Yeah. And keep in mind, a lot of these different banks have like the similar transfer partners. So like, for example, both my Amex points and my Capital One points can go toward Aeroplan. So it's not like I'm segmenting my ability to make larger redemptions because I'm invested in different currencies. Like they could all funnel toward a similar program, whereas I still have the optionality of funneling some of my points toward rarer programs that are only associated with one program, like ANA with Amex or Hyatt with Chase by having multiple issuers. So I think this covers this topic pretty well. What are your thoughts about speculatively transferring points? Should you do it? Do you do it? Leave a comment down below if you have a take on this. And also, if you enjoyed today's video, please consider subscribing and giving this video a like. It greatly helps support the channel. If you're interested in signing up for any credit card, please consider using one of our links down in the description below. It greatly helps us out. Sean, why don't you plug our Discord?
Yes, if you want to connect with an elite and very, very smart group of award travelers, check out the Travel Lane Discord at the link in the description and in the pinned comment. Sherwin and I are in there. We can answer your questions. Plenty of other people are in there, and you'll learn a ton, I promise. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week.